Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and today's episode is another kind of different kind of episode that I've not done in a long time, and that is a questions and answers episode. So basically, I've accumulated a bunch of questions that have become unanswered. They're short, so that I should be able to address them in a short episode like this, and be able to give you some quicker response, and basically have the ability for you to basically ask more questions, and then I'll see if I can address them in the next episode. Also, longer questions that are more complicated, I've basically been able to make whole episodes, in order to address certain episodes. So again, if you've got an idea, if you got a question that's sort of burning in your mind, put it below, and I'll see if I can get to it. Maybe in the next episode or so. Maybe we'll find some more questions that you can have answers to. All right. But before I begin, I want to go down and remind people to click like and click subscribe. Again, every like that I get, helps the algorithm roll over, because that's how YouTube works. It's a you know it's a like and sort of repetitious kind of algorithm that makes it work. So if you can do that, that'd be really useful and that'd be really helpful. Okay. Also, I also have a just starting to do the anime giveaway number 5. Okay, just because I've now reached over episode 300, another very good landmark again. So again, I got a bunch of goodies getting ready to go. First episode's already up at this time, so if you want to have a look at the the goodies that are available for you, have a look at that, and should have another episode of some more stuff. Maybe another week, probably another week this week. I should have some more goodies available for the giveaway. So again, keep your eyes out for those and keep your notifications on, so that way when I get the instructions and stuff ready for you to pick what you want, you'll be able to know. Okay. Again, as a way to reward and to recognize my subscribers and those who donate using the Patreon or PayPal. Again, those people will have first priority pick on the items in the anime giveaway, so that they get first picks and first dibs on stuff. As well, I also have a series of episodes and that kind of stuff that I've made available for the subscribers and for the sponsors and that kind of stuff for that. Just because there's a lot of content and a lot of topics that I can't talk about here on YouTube, that I have to put onto a separate onto a separate resource for you, and those are for the subscribers. Right now, I'm in the process of finishing off the rest of those joke dubs and that kind of stuff, which are again, because of the music and that kind of stuff they contain, and some of the footage that they contain. Obviously YouTube doesn't like that, so obviously that's available. I got another one coming up really soon, where I managed to find the it's an old document. It might take me a little while to edit it together, because I said trying to find all the graphical parts, so it might be a little bit tough. But I managed to find a listing of all the prohibited titles for a video rental store. So again, the provincial government here, actually has a special department which checks out video stores to determine and list out all these different titles and that kind of stuff that are absolutely prohibited to be carried in a video store. I go through this list, and surprisingly enough, there's anime titles on there. So, again, when I prepare that episode, I'll put that on the subscribers list. Okay. So today's episode is questions and answers. So hopefully I'll go through various different listings that I've had in the comments and that kind of stuff, and in the emails that people have sent me. And this episode, I'll address a couple of the questions that are that have been asked, that haven't been answered. And what's kind of funny is because in a previous episode we were just interviewing Jack, and one of the things that he was commenting was that we used to have a bunch of subgroups within the Vancouver Japanese Animation Club. And one of the ones that Jack referred to was the VJAS-R, which is the research division of VJAS, right? And again, this wasn't really an official per se the word, even though we did have actually some business cards actually made, but it addressed the problem that we had where people would come up and ask us a question about something, and then because sometimes we didn't have the answer readily available, we'd have to do the research in order to find out the answer, which may require going into a magazine, looking it up, going onto what was loosely referred to as the internet at the time, because there wasn't all the resources, wasn't like things like Google and Wikipedia and that kind of stuff readily handily available. So we'd have to kind of piece together and try to figure out what the answers to some of the questions were. So that's what the research division was for. So some of these questions are relatively easy, but some of them it required me to go back and kind of think about it for a moment, and as I said, do the quote research like we used to do in the old days to actually answer these questions. So that's kind of a little throwback to that. So let's go into some of the questions and let's see what we got. Okay, the first question is the acronym OAV and OVA, which one is which, and for the most part, I think everyone sort of uses them very interchangeably. Okay, I think that the difference is absolutely very slight, if there is any at all. But the notion is that the first early magazines were always referred to as OAVA, which is original animated video, which it refers to like an anime or type of thing that wasn't put on TV, so it's not it's not something that's been televised and been put on the airwaves and distributed and watched that way. This is an item that basically was an original video concept, so usually it's not really based on something. Not always, but it's usually something that it has no TV series connected to it, doesn't have a movie connected to it, maybe have a manga or something connected to it, or maybe has it's an original concept altogether. But then it's just released to video. Usually, what they do with this is in order to find out whether or not this thing actually is worthy of making more of it. Okay, so my first example here is from the Anime V magazine, 1996 October issue. And again, Anime V is really good because it really focuses on OAVAs. In this issue, they have a feature called OAV Hunter, which they feature gunsmith cats. Okay, you can go to this other issue here. This is from an Animedia magazine, February 1987. Okay. And in this issue, they have an OAV section again. In this case, it features Bubble Crazy. So you can tell that for at least a decade they've been using the term OAV. Okay, the next thing I show you is an Animedia magazine, September 2000. Okay. And inside this magazine, here we have an ad for Mamoto Shugoten, and right at the top, OVA, right? However, just flip a few more pages over, and then the magazine all of a sudden flips back. You look down the list, and you may notice that Mamoto Shugoten is listed as an OAV, even though in the just few previous pages, the ad clearly said it was an OVA. So even in the same issue of the magazine, they can't keep it straight. So again, after a while, especially when the digital era and that kind of stuff came in, the terms started getting used very interchangeably. The OAV usually at that time, because it's such an early time, usually refers to video as in like a VHS type of media. Obviously, later on, they rearranged it a slight bit to make it OVA, indicating that that's not necessarily a video release to a media like a VHS tape. Maybe more to it goes to a laser disc, and then of course later on to a DVD. But yeah, so most cases, and in most things like advertisements and that kind of stuff, they're almost used interchangeably. Now, of course, in the modern day, OVA tends to be the one that all the advertisements and that kind of stuff tend to use. Okay, that's that's how it is sort of has kind of evolved since the beginning, right? But again, I tend to use it quite interchangeably as well, because the difference is very, very slight in that respect. Okay, so this, question number 2. It was asked, is Legend of the Galactic Heroes an OVA or a TV series? Now, again, this was posed to me when I was doing the top 30 now countdown, and Legend of Galactic Heroes shows up as an OVA on the sheet or on the on my anime listings as an OVA and not in the category of a TV, even though it has over like hundreds of episodes in there. So it's should be one of these things that relatively is considered a TV series as opposed to an OVA, because it's hard to release 100 episodes of OVA only to be able sold on as video only releases. Generally speaking, if you have that many episodes, you tend to want it on TV. So anyway, I ended up listing it as a TV series because I always remembered it as a TV series. I didn't really chase after it because it's one of those, you got to realize that in the pretty much even in the 90s, okay, really, no one really went and fan subbed Legend of the Galactic Heroes, the TV series. Like I remember maybe one or two of the movies, maybe, but like the TV series itself slash OVA series, in general was not subtitled, and this is one of those shows where it's really tough to swallow it, as it were, when you have no translation. Okay, because it's relatively a complex plot. Okay, that requires following of the of the dialogue and of the plot devices. The action is not like a Gundam, so where it's some sort of action happens or some plot building, and then there's gonna be action combat kind of thing, and then the resolution to that side. So it's not as quite as easy to follow as let's say one of those shows, say giant mecha shows and that kind of stuff, right? Lots of characters and lots of different names. Okay, so again, a multitude, just like a Gundam, but even probably more so. Lots of characters and that kind of stuff to introduce, to follow, to build the characters up, and that kind of stuff. So it is very, very complicated, and of course there's a lot of background to kind of a German sort of feel too, right? Which also can be added into it to make it even that much more confusing. So so again, for a person that in the the 90s to really get into Legend of Galactic Heroes was really tough because of the just the total lack of translation and the difficulty in it was to follow. But anyway, I did manage to do some research and I did find out the information I needed. Legend of the Heroes falls into the category of let's try, just as I mentioned with the OVAs, let's try a bunch of movies and OVAs on it first, and let's see if it goes anywhere. If it's popular enough, sure, let's flesh it out. Let's make a full TV series for it, and then we can market it from that. So what I've done is I've looked up the information from an Animedia magazine, because again, Animedia magazine is usually my go-to magazine for finding stuff about TV series. And again, when we got these magazines, one of the most key, very important things in the magazine, for this particular magazine, again because it follows TV series, is that it has TV listings in the middle of the book. So when I flip to the TV listings and I go down to the list of titles and that kind of stuff, and again, this is that I'm doing the top 20 countdown. I'm going through. Okay. Well, obviously, if Legend of Heroes came out in 88, 89, then I should be looking at the TV listings roughly around that time. I should see Legend of Galactic Heroes as a TV show if it actually does show up as a TV show in there. And I'm thinking in terms of how Orange Road worked. If you release an OVA, usually a year or so afterwards, after you get the production of the TV series going, it should show up as a TV series in the listings. And sure enough, when I found it in this issue of Animedia magazine, going to the TV listings, and here you go. We see Legend of the Galactic Heroes actually on TV. Now, the interesting thing is if you look at the listings and you show that, and I'll do the translation flip off sheet up for it, you can see that the TV show is put on air at 12:35 a.m. in the morning. So this is at the same time where all the smutty stuff and other kind of stuff and the late night programming is for stuff, right? So part of the reason why they probably never really went well is that if a person is recording stuff for let's say in Japan with a VCR, and he's recording all the stuff that to be sent over here to show friends or use in a rental store and that kind of stuff, they most likely will stop the recording probably before it hits midnight, because he said, all the good programming is usually between, let's say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon to about 9 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock at night. Okay, and that's where all the good stuff is. After that, it goes into the the special stuff. That's another reason why the early on Legend of Galactic Heroes was really hard to get to, because no one's gonna record that in that time slot, that kind of material, unless they get all the other the cream lemons and the lemon angels and all the other really questionable stuff, right? So that probably lends to that to that being not as popular. So to answer the question, yes, it probably started. Legend of Heroes was pushed out as a movie / OVA first, as a test feeler to see how the series would go, and then later on they put it out on TV and then made a big long TV series with like 3 different seasons of that stuff, hundreds of episodes, and there we go. So yes, you would consider that. If you were going to consider it as a as a franchise, you'd consider it as a TV franchise. Okay. All right. So question number 3 was, is Gundam worth a watch? Okay. Now like most things, right? I mean, as I said, Gundam is probably one of the key franchises in anime in general. I mean, it's if you had to ask a person that's only casual into anime, you ask them, which is one of the sort of key franchises in anime, you'd probably mention Gundam. Okay, now of course there's lots of different Gundams, notably speaking. There's and there's different sort of sections of Gundam. There's obviously the Gundams that's on TV series. There's the Gundams that are on OVAs or movies, and then and then there's even the comical Gundams like SD Gundams and that kind of stuff for comic relief. But sure, and there's different Gundams which I would say as they modernize and get newer, tend to be catchier. I think a lot of people get interested in a Gundam because of as one of the series that they watched initially, I guess say, like so if it's one of the first Gundams they are exposed to, they tend to be really gravitate to those. So that's that's sort of one sort of thing. Expectations is another one too, because I said there's certain Gundams which are more. I think they'll appeal to certain people more than other ones will, and they affect people in a different way. Okay, but I would have to classify it. But I'll put it together in a couple blocks. Okay, there's this one block of people that would like the original Gundam to about Zeta Gundam, or Zeta Double Zeta Gundam, right? And that sort of block, and maybe even throw Charge Counterattack, the movie, in there, because again, that's one sort of unified block of UC timeline, which incorporates the entire series of how Amuro, if we get to the Gundam, the Camille comes sort of thing for Zeta, for the new advancements of the Zeta Gundam, and of course Judo, taking when the double Zeta comes in, of course, and then of course Charge Counterattack is to help finish off that that conflict between Char and Amuro, and kind of finish that sort of full circle. So you can think of that as one sort of one block. And a lot of people, especially the classic Gundam fans, like this sort of thing because even though it's the same premise, it's the kid who gets into the into the giant robot and figures how to use it right away, and then basically transpires back to more or less the same concept that this is how war and conflict affects kids essentially, and all the ramifications about that on there, and it's a repeating sort of timeline of that. And again, like most Gundams, don't get attached to too many characters because genocide Tomino basically will start eliminating characters, and so if you if you get too attached to one character, you might not make it to the end of the series before they get there. So yeah, that's one sort of block, and sort of the standard that a lot of Gundams are based off of from that. Okay. The next sort of really big popular block, or two blocks, is obviously the Gundam Wing franchise, which includes the Endless Waltz OVAs, as well as the Gundam Seed franchise, which is the Gundam Seed and Seed Destiny. Now, a lot of people, I've put this in two because a lot of the newer anime fans, especially the ones who watched the anime on TV, got exposed to these two Gundams. Okay, so Gundam Wing and Gundam Seed, and so to a lot of them, especially if you were watching on Toonami and that kind of stuff, this was your real first exposure to Gundams, and this is where you thought, wow, this is really cool. This is different. This is the kind of a really big plus to thing that you've not seen this kind of this kind of conflict, all the various different things that Gundam's known for, using kids as pilots and that kind of stuff, things like that, and this carries over in that sort of thing. As time obviously went on, the graphics and that kind of stuff, the combat scenes were better as they go along, and that's why a lot of people like this kind of that block there. Okay, in there also was some OVAs. Okay, at this time, a lot of different artists and that kind of stuff are also getting into the game, trying to make some OVAs and that kind of stuff, and short movies for Gundam. This is where things like 0080 and 083 come in, and MS08 team. Very very short OVA sets. I do recommend having a look at these ones because they're very nice. They're very short. 083 is only 6 episodes. 083 is 13, unless you want to get the movie as well. And MS08 teams is also 13, so it's nice and short. But yeah, very very good sort of complete stories in themselves, and they work really well as side stories to the thing. So again, really works really nice. Nice artwork. Works well with all the different artists and that kind of stuff that's going on. So that's another sort of sprinkling of Gundams. If you don't want to get into a long Gundam series, the OVAs are really really good for that sort of thing. And so I'll classify that as one. And then, of course, there's the newer generation of Gundams that people are getting into. A lot of people like Unicorn, because that's sort of the I guess the next sort of generation of kids who didn't grow up on Gundam from the TV show sort of thing, but they they came in through online and kind of stuff. That's your Gundam. And of course, a lot of people like that. Again, good storyline, good pace in the action and that kind of stuff. The mechs are as part of the same story as a normal Gundam. It's interesting because it's that Unicorn plays onto the much further into the to the Gundam Zeta Double Zeta storyline. Many thought that maybe Gaiga Gear was going to be the continuation of Hathaway's story, but in the end, it ends up being I guess rewritten to make a unicorn. But that's that's one of those novelizations that decided that they're going that way, and it's definitely very very good. The only one else I'll throw in there that I personally liked, just because it was a lighter sort of thing, was G Gundam. Okay, when I did the fan subs to G Gundam, I thought it was rather kind of weird and corny. But when I actually started doing the subtitling for that and that kind of stuff, I found it really. It was a good way to reflect back and think about all the all the stereotyping and that kind of stuff, and how it actually added to the story. So it was all sort of a because it's not part of the standard UC timeline, you shouldn't think of it the same way. But at the same time, it was a really lighthearted way to think of Gundams and that kind of stuff. And so that's why I really enjoyed doing the G Gundam, and I also enjoyed the ending to that one too, because I thought that was rather nice. So that was but all said, saying as much, there are other Gundams which I didn't like. I didn't like how X Gundam was drawn, although the mechs seemed pretty neat. But I didn't like how that was done. I definitely did not like Turn A. I mean, just the whole retro look, and just the way that I thought about it. It's like Battlefield Earth. I mean, it's just did not make any sense. So and the Gundam was just horribly drawn. I mean, that's like freaking Mustache Gundam or something, man. That just did not work for me at all. And so but definitely, yes, there are definitely things that in a Gundam you should check out. And again, depending on how far or how much investment you want to do in the Gundam, start off with some OVA, start with the occasional movie or whatever, and see how that starts off for you. But I think a lot of it is based on when you first see your first Gundam in that sort of bracket and that kind of stuff. And you tend to find that one is one of your first, or one of the ones that you really, really enjoyed. Okay? But definitely, check it out. That's the questions for this particular episode. Again, if you have any questions yourself, or you have some things that are sort of in your back of your brain, just kind of burning, thinking of like, well, why is it that, and or what, how is that, and why is that, and like, and did you ever do this, or did you do that? What do you know about this? What do you know about that? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Or here's a link of something. What do you think of this guy? Or what's your opinion on this? Sure, throw it on the bottom here, and then if we got enough episodes of that, I'll make another episode with questions and answers, and see if I can give you the same analysis, and hopefully come up with an answer for you. All right, so. Thanks for the again, check out the anime giveaway that I'm doing this week, and good luck, and see if you get some goodies for yourself. All right, so until next time, I will see you again.